statements, I started by telling you that this case was really an easy case, not a complicated case, a very simple case. And as I stand up here before you now,
okay, it's over for Ukraine, but they are deferring the hangover by drinking every day, right? Yeah. You're deferring your hangover by just getting drunk again. Right. The problem with that is that they know that the capitulation of Ukraine, not just the suffering of the Ukrainian people for literally nothing, okay, but also the suffering of Europe and the NATO alliance more broadly for nothing. Well, what could possibly be the outcome of that? And I said it last week. We could literally see the end of NATO from this.
Yeah.
It could be the end of NATO, because when America lost in Vietnam, they deferred Vietnam as well, right? America didn't pull out of Vietnam until what, 1973?
Oh yeah. That's true. That's
right.
True.
But when that happened, the SEATO, which is the Southeast Asian NATO, collapsed when that happened. In Iran, when the Iranian Revolution happened, the Middle Eastern NATO they had collapsed.
Yeah.
So who says that Ukraine or something small that follows it up, like some country like Bulgaria leaving NATO or something, who says that won't cause NATO to collapse?
Yeah.
Right? That whole security architecture.
So that's why it's going to be very difficult for this to get done, this deal, because just like Afghanistan, there's no way to do it without it being a humiliating and like I say, a gruesome fiasco. I mean, I think about the end in Afghanistan, those people hanging on the planes and everything. That was horrible. This with Ukraine, yeah. I mean, how do you then explain hundreds of thousands of dead and wounded people? I mean, the country's been destroyed. It's been destroyed. And then it's the old, I mean, look, I hate to admit it, but there's a certain logic to the Ukraine hawks. There's a certain logic.
Yes,
I mean, Applebaum.
Exactly.
It's in the Atlantic. It's like, yes, if we back down in Ukraine, now everyone's going to be emboldened against the United States. And all of our allies will say, well, okay, we'll say we're going to back you, but then we won't back you when you really need us. So,
well, Europe is going to learn the hard way, where all these sacrifices the Germans and French and the Poles have made to support the NATO project in Ukraine not only was for nothing, but then at the same time, the United States is going to go there and pick your bones. Yeah. All the German industry is being shipped out of Germany over this.
Yeah.
They're going to pick their bones. Okay. And that's not because of it. Like the Ann Applebaum view is, let's just have a full-blown NATO intervention in Ukraine to prevent the Russians from winning. Right. And there's a logic there, because Ann Applebaum, because she's a manic depressive Jew, is thinking like a poker player who's lost his life savings at the poker game, and then starts putting up his he starts like taking loans out on his house or his kids' college money to win it back, right? Yeah. To win his money back.
Yeah.
That's the manic depressive Jewish perspective. Yeah. But at the end of the day, there are no good options here. There actually are no good options.
I just checked in with her. Let's check in with Ann. Trump triggers a crisis in Denmark and Europe. What a single phone call from the president-elect did to an unswerving American ally.
Right.
She's upset on January 18th.
Right.
She's upset.
I mean, again, remember back to the Ben Shapiro, Sam Harris debate. Yes. This is what Sam Harris was saying, is that everything with Trump is a dog and pony show. But retarded people can't ever help. Like, it's not like, sure, it's toothless. Sure, it's irrational. Sure, it's dumb. But at the end of the day, you have a loyal vassal state in Denmark, and you're antagonizing them for literally no reason.
Yeah. Yeah, look at this. In private discussions, the adjective that was most frequently used to describe the Trump phone call was rough. The verb most frequently used was threaten. The reaction was most frequently expressed was confusion. Trump made it clear to Frederickson that he is serious about Greenland. He sees it apparently as a real estate deal, but Greenland is not a beachfront property. The world's largest island is an autonomous territory of Denmark, inhabited by people who are Danish citizens, vote in Danish elections, and have representatives in the Danish parliament. Now, again, this is Ann Applebaum, so this isn't someone who's all concerned about, America shouldn't meddle in other people's affairs. Far from it. But look, Denmark and the United States are founding members of NATO, and Danish leaders would be forgiven for believing that this matters in Washington too. Yeah, see. She says instead these links turn out to be a vulnerability. She's viewing this as that threatens NATO. Obviously. I mean, if Trump is talking about stealing land from, I don't know what the hell is going on here, but this reminds me of.
Well, there is actually, to be fair though, there is a logic here. Remember, we talked about this. I think I may have even written about it in the collapse of the American empire. I might be misremembering, but I've been talking about this where I say, if the United States is going to just make peace, that guess what? Russia is going to have a sphere of influence.
Right.
China is going to have a sphere of influence, et cetera, et cetera. Global hegemonic empire is no longer feasible. It's not possible. All that means is that the United States is going to have to consolidate its power in the Western Hemisphere.
Sure.
And that's why, we can talk about Venezuela and Cuba. I think that we'll know if they've given up on the American empire if they take a more forceful approach, even more so with Venezuela and Cuba. And I've said this on Twitter. I said, watch Argentina, okay? Argentina is going to be the attack dog for Zog in Latin America. It's being built up by Washington to be like a sort of mercenary country. And I suspect the next, if there is an intervention in Venezuela, it will be done via Argentina. Argentinian forces will be used. How do I know this? Because in the Cold War, when the Argentinian government became an asset of the U.S., the Argentinian intelligence services were the ones that were overthrowing the Sandinistas in Nicaragua. So I think that what we're going to see is a total consolidation of the Western Hemisphere, and it's not clear if China and Russia will challenge the U.S. on Cuba and Venezuela.
Right. But that's why Ann Applebaum is saying like this. I mean, because you can't get something for nothing. I mean, like it's like, okay, we're going to focus more on our manifest destiny. I think Trump even used the word manifest destiny.
Argentina's deep state was ripped out. It was already weak. The intelligence services and the military. Javier Milei has fired everyone, and I shit you not, he's put the Mossad and CIA in charge of the Argentinian deep state. He's brought CIA and Mossad and appointed them to run the Argentinian intelligence services. So Argentina now is like the 51st state of the United States, and they're going to use, because there's enough white people left there to be a superpower in the region.
Yeah.
They're going to use that to destroy Venezuela. That's just my outside of the box prediction.
Well, this was a post on Geopolitics Live that I shared on Telegram. I can't bring the Telegram post up, but this is what it said. It said, how does Trump plan to shake up U.S. Venezuela policy? The fact that hawks like Secretary of State Marco Rubio and private military contractor Eric Prince are close to Trump means a tougher U.S. stance on Venezuela is likely. What actions can the new administration take? Increased sanctions pressure. Restrictions on Venezuela's key economic sectors, especially oil, may increase, with Rubio officially pushing for measures in April 2024 to limit the country's main source of export income. support for opposition forces. Rubio and other hawks may push for U.S. diplomatic recognition and financial aid to opposition groups. In 2019, Bloomberg reported, citing anonymous sources, Mr. Prince suggested using private contractors for covert ops, potentially facilitating a clandestine push for regime change. Remember when Tucker was advertising the Eric Prince security phone?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you mean the phone that is programmed to explode in your pocket?
You're right, literally. Yeah, totally, literally. And military intervention is not off the table. Back in 2019, Reuters reported, citing anonymous sources, that Prince was in favor of using Mercs to remove Nicolas Maduro and install Juan Guaido, or however you say Guido, I always want to say. It also reported that Rubio was supportive of a U.S. military involvement in the country. Maduro stands, despite the pressure, he remains defiant, presenting himself as the protector of Venezuela's sovereignty. Venezuela has strengthened ties with Russia via military and energy cooperation agreement signed in 2024, and with China, upgrading a bilateral strategic partnership in 2023. So, you know, I know that this is a big thing. Like, I read somewhere else, I was looking for it, that these people are emboldened by what happened to Assad, that they feel that they could do the same thing with Maduro.
Well, the problem,
just give them a push and it'll crumble. You know?
What's so bizarre about like American think tanks and policy writers is that they're constantly making assumptions that are groundless. Like when the war in Ukraine started, they were making all of these assumptions, and they did it for years. They're still doing it. That the Putin regime is like this close to falling. In the case of Iran, they're doing this now, where they're saying the Iranians have never been weaker. It's time to strike now. Yeah. Bullshit. The fucking Iranians just showed off that they have like underground missile cities with. They're 2 weeks away from a nuke. They did these naval exercises where they showed that like you're not going to get anywhere near their nuclear facilities because they have that fortified, right? And so people in Washington are contending with this intelligence where they're just like the Jews are pushing them to attack Iran.
Have you seen Iran's new foreign minister?
No, I think I have. Yes, he was.
I haven't like seen any commentary of this, but the picture jumped out at me. The hair and mustache combination that he's going for. This is Iran's new foreign minister.
Oh man, you just change that mustache a little bit.
Just a tiny. I mean, he's basically got it. I mean, it's just like it's extra dark right under his nose. I was like, is Iran's foreign minister trying to send a message here?
Oh shit! He's even got the tape up.
I saw this in an article. You know, usually you don't see him that way because he was visiting. Here. Wait a minute. This is in Iran. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize because I thought this guy's an Arab. This is Saudi Arabia's foreign minister. Yeah. Maybe they're sending a message too. I saw it in an article about Iran, and I thought it was the new Iranian.
It's funny he's wearing a business suit rather than the.
I've never seen him. Yeah, you never see him without that, and without it, it was just funny because the guy's got a look going on. There's his normal look, you know. Sorry about that, audience. I got that wrong. I saw that earlier. I was like, it was an article talking about Iran and Saudi Arabia, and I was like, they said here's the foreign minister. I was like, what? But yeah, it's pretty funny. He's definitely got a look going there.
Yeah, he's got the tape up, right?
Yeah.
When I was in school, they showed us clips.
This fits with what you were saying about Saudi Arabian opinions about Jews. But anyway.
Certainly. But when I was in school, they played a clip from Triumph of the Will in class once.
Yeah.
And some of the blacks in the class were like, "Yo, I didn't know Hitler invented the tape up." So the tape up is always the tell sign.
Well, speaking of which, you saw that this horrible shooting that happened. You were posting about that. The guy was
I said the Great
I mean, it's not
Replacement.
funny. It's
so-
horrible, but it's
No,
like
the Great Replacement has been so thorough that even our niche neo-Nazi subcultures are controlled by blacks.
what the hell, man? Like, it's really.
Here, I'll send you the
Yeah,
picture.
send me the picture. Yeah, this guy. Did he? What happened? He shot a girl in Nashville, and then he shot himself.
He wrote a manifesto about total N-word death, and then shot himself.
Oh my god!
This is a fucking seriously mentally ill country. I mean,
yeah. So, a black alt-right Nazi committed a school shooting. By the way, this is another thing where the fact that like they're not making more out of this. I mean, normally this would be like enough, even though he's black, to be like, oh my god, we gotta shut down like free speech online or something. But they're just like, nothing to see here.
no.
A black alt-right Nazi committed a school shooting. 2 students were killed, and the 17-year-old shooter committed suicide. His 300-page online manifesto was later discovered, in which he posted a slew of photographs, praised Hitler, and spoke out against black people. Yeah, there he is. I mean,
yeah, that's the guy that when you're saying you don't agree with Brenton Tarrant, that's the guy calling you a cuck. It's literally that guy.
yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that it's one of the old problems with National Socialism has. When something is so demonized, this is a perennial problem. When something is so demonized and made out to be this terrible, like, dark thing, it becomes a magnet for the mentally ill. It becomes really. Listen, this is something you've always cautioned me against.
Yeah.
Because I'm someone. No, but you got to understand that I'm someone that I did the suit and tie, do politics within the system for many years, for decades, really, almost 2 decades. And then only with the alt-right was I just like, okay, I've been a National Socialist this whole time. I'm going to say it. I'm a National Socialist. And you, who come more out of the skinhead scene when you were a kid, you were more like, Warren,
don't overcorrect
lunatics, It's
no, I mean, if you put up the flag, trust me, if you put up the flag, they will come. But it's not going to be who you want today.
that's the strongest argument against that. That,
boy,
America's a mentally ill country, so you're going to get
it's an open air. It's an open air, free range retard corral.
Yeah,
you will get that guy if you put the flag up. You will get that guy.
I mean, what a beautiful psyop. Again, it's a self-generating, self-reinforcing, sort of a defamation of National Socialism. You put this thing out that perpetual motion machine will attract people like this who do terrible things in the name of the thing, which then further reinforces the bizarre, creepy, satanic quality of the thing, which further attracts the lunatics that do more. Man, anyway, but yeah, it's tragic what happened.
Bizarre.
Yeah, really bizarre. But it does show, like, I mean, I guess BLM is not a thing anymore, so they have to go. They have to reach to other things to become relevant. But anyway, sorry to derail the conversation with that.
Let's talk a bit about some of Trump's executive orders. Now,
let
me tell you the ones with so the government has additional powers to deport criminal illegal aliens, not from Trump's EO, but from the bipartisan Lincoln-Riley Act. So there's going to be some people getting deported, but not because of Trump's EOs. But let's talk about some of the EOs that I think will stick. And that's the ones that are overturning affirmative action and DEI in federal hiring.
Right.
So here's one that caught my eye. Trump specifically named the Federal Aviation Administration for terminating affirmative action hiring. Now,
you mean we can fly again?
Yes. I mean, this is actually interesting because it shows you that they don't want they don't want black people running the important stuff. You know, the FAA, I believe, is being blamed right now for the LA fires. Like the Los Angeles, like the
What?
the
I didn't hear that.
yes, because the people that were tasked with containing the fires
I heard that.
are all affirmative action hires.
Right.
Right. And so what could have been contained is now just out of control.
Oh no, actually,
And a massive blow to America's prestige and reputation.
Yeah, I saw there was like a collection of pictures going around, of all the different individuals that were involved. I'll see if I can find it, but it was really funny. Like every single person that was involved in the LA fires and like supposed to be managing it was someone who's like, obviously like an extreme DEI hire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, the reason the FAA comes into play here is because they're the ones in charge of the firefighting aircraft. And
that's what I was wondering.
And they've been really fucking slow in sending.
Yeah,
they've been really slow. I sent you something where the Congress is like demanding that they hurry up because, like, it's one thing if a hurricane destroys parts of Appalachia in North Carolina. Those are rural white people. They have no rights. It's a totally different thing when the wildfires are consuming Beverly Hills.
Which, by the way, did you see that Trump made a big show that he's going to visit North Carolina now as president, and he mentioned it, and they also FEMA has just like that all kinds of new support for the people in North Carolina. I mean, which is good for them.
Yeah, I guess.
But it's just it's definitely like there is a push here. There is a PR push here to win back to it's like white America is, you've beaten me up for the last time, I'm leaving.
It's all
Zog
connected.
is saying, oh sweetheart, I didn't mean it, I'll never do it again,
right.
I promise.
It's all connected to the military recruitment crisis, but also the competency crisis.
Yes.
You need if America is going to be competitive against Russia, China, and Iran, it needs to fire all those, like that BDSM fetish guy that was hired by Biden to run the nuclear.
Yeah.
Like, you have to fire all those people and install people that know what they're doing to even have a chance of saving the American empire. But we already talked about this. Joseph Stalin in 1941, same dynamic.
Yeah.
The thing is, what I implore white people consider is, guess what? Jews need us more than we need them.
Yes.
Let's step on their fingers as they hold off on the cliff.
Right.
Don't fucking save them. Step on their fingers. Imagine if the Russians hadn't gone all in for Stalin's thing. He's putting out movies like Nevsky and reopening the Orthodox churches and saying the motherland and Russia is great and blah, 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 blah. The ethnic Russians are the real Soviet people. Don't fall for that. Because if the Russians had resisted that appeal and just fought a little less hard, Stalin would have fallen. Communism would have been defeated. Okay?
Yeah.
Today we are living in the new version of communism, which is the American empire, where their proposition to us is save the Jews one last time so that we can get back to killing you unmolested. Well, what kind of agreement is that? I don't want that.
Yeah. I like that analogy. That's a very good analogy. Okay, here it is. I like the analogy that Stalin, saved the motherland, because it's like all the people right now that are like, America is back.
Yeah.
Like, you're living after 20 years of the Cheka and the NKVD, and you're living under the Bolshevik regime, and then Hitler invades, and suddenly Stalin's like, "Hey, guess what? You can go back to church."
After killing millions of you. After killing millions of you throughout the 1930s.
And then imagine like Russians, some Russian being like, "Russia's back in charge."
Yeah, I know there were. That's exactly what happened.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. So this was a thing. I think this is. This is so funny again. I mean, it's not funny. It's funny, but it's not funny. Meet the people in charge of LA's fire response. All of them named Kristen. I don't know if this is accurate, but I think it is. Kristen Crowley, Fire Chief, LAFD. Salary $439,722.
Yeah.
Christina Kepner, Assistant Chief, LAFD. Salary $264,000. Christine Larson, Equity Bureau Chief, LAFD. Salary $399,000. DI is nothing but anti-white male, unqualified women. So look at these. Look at the faces.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. That's why they're changing that. Because, like, you know, do you know how many billions of dollars of Jewish property are being burned up right now because of this?
Well,
they're the ones pushing for it.
Yes. Yeah.
There's billions and billions of dollars of Jewish property in Beverly Hills being burned at Christmas.
I mean, it's yeah. But this is just, they're purging these types because of Russia and China. Right. You know, and actually, again, see, this is the funny thing. When we think back to, we've talked about on this show, Joe, many times about how the big turning point right around 1989, 1990, when white America jumped off a cliff. I mean, one thing I've been thinking, Emily and I've been talking a lot about this, the difference between the 80s and the 90s in the culture. And I saw, I'll give you one example. I saw this film, Steve Martin comedy called Roxanne. Have you ever seen it? It's
is that the one where he has the big fake nose?
Yeah, it's based on Cyrano de Bergerac, right? And Cyrano de Bergerac is a wonderful, wonderful play. It's a wonderful story, and it's a sweet movie. You know, I remember it playing on TV when I was a kid. He's after Daryl Hannah, and I watched it on television. It's the first time I think I've ever seen it as an adult. It wasn't that funny. It was not mildly funny, but it was a nice comedy. But the funny thing about it was, the world that it takes place in was like another universe. It was like, and I looked at what year was this made? 1987. It's this all-white town in this pristine area, and it's just like white people doing white people things. The recurring joke of the film is like the fire department that he heads up, the local fire department, volunteer fire department, they're all incompetent. And it was like another universe, and it's funny because at the same time, I have my kids are watching some old cartoons, and what's amazing is the cartoons from the 90s, like the Magic School Bus, the amount of diversity in the cartoons, the level of it is off the charts.
But even then though, look at Friends, look at Beverly Hills 90210.
I know. But it's like the shift from the 80s to the 90s as far as the presence of black stuff in everything and diversity. What happened? The Cold War ended. The Cold War ended. I mean, it's so clear to me now. It's so clear to me. The great power competition is what preserved white America as long as it did. And the second, literally the year that great power competition was over and it's a unipolar world, they went to war on white America. Right. And so that's what's
always been so stupid about right-wing Cold Warriors. Because throughout the Cold War, they blamed things like Civil Rights Act and mass immigration on like a communist infiltration of the U.S. government. But my counterpoint to them is that, well, why is it that when the Soviet Union collapsed, all that shit went into overdrive?
Right.
You have to understand, this is actually something I'm going to write about at some point. You can't have empire and capitalism without also having mass immigration and racial heterogeneity. You can't have both. So when right-wingers are free marketeers who are against immigration, they're putting a stick in the front wheel of their bicycle because it's simply impossible. Like I was saying, Richard Hanania and Matthew Iglesias are 100% right that in order to have financialized capitalism, you need to have open borders for two reasons. The assets, the fire assets, whether it's real estate or whatever, need to continue inflating, which requires unnatural growth in your population to continue, unending. And number two, businesses require cheap labor, below market labor, in order to function in a service economy. Yeah. You can't have both. Okay, like if tomorrow all these suburbanites had no immigrants, they'd have to get their nice prissy little son, their soft-handed little son, to go out and fucking mow the lawn,
right?
To go out and fix the roof. You know, you'd have to go back to that. And frankly, a lot of right-wingers would not want that. So you have to pick one. Do you want to have free market capitalism, or do you want to have a white country? Because the main problem is the dollar. The dollar is effectively, immigrants are effectively gold prospectors coming to America for green gold, which is $1. When I worked in construction many years ago, I had a Honduran guy on the job site, and this guy was showing me pictures of a mansion he was building in Honduras. And I said to him, like, dude, how the fuck do you afford this? And he's like, well, the dollars go far. Like, there's a whole neighborhood in Honduras and in El Salvador full of mansions that belong to your landscaper in California.
Right.
So, you know, just like in the movie The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, where there were gringos going illegally into Mexico to prospect for gold, well, now you have Mexicans coming to America, or Central Americans coming into America prospecting for gold.
Right.
So you require to have a white country, a complete radical revolutionary change in the economic structure of America, something closer to China. Number two, you need to water down the U.S. dollar. Okay? Yeah. Once you do that, all the immigrants will leave once the U.S. dollar is no longer overvalued.
Right. Well, yeah, my point is just that great power competition. I mean, all the people that are, you know, the stupid arguments, which I see. Okay. Sorry about the yeah, just the power flickered there for a second. But yeah, I think we're back on everything. We should be good. Let me just
Alrighty.
everybody still hear us? We live?
Yes, I think you are.
You guys see us? Okay, we're back. We're back. We're good. All right, everything's
We're
good.
so back.
We're so back. Yeah.
We're so back.
My point was just this: that that the people this is what I was starting to say. We don't see this as much anymore. But the people that were
You sound like you're a little iffy, a little snowy, scratchy.
Give it 1 second. I powered on my computer and went straight to it, so the startup processes might still be in the background. How about now?
Nah, you're still a little bit.
How about now?
Yeah, still.
Staticky? Staticky and scratchy? Wait, let me just make sure my audio...
I think you just have to plug your mic in and out.
1 second.
I think it's actually a crisis actor who's replaced the real Warren.
How about now?
Now you're fine. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Yeah. What I was saying was we used to get people that would be like, third worldist, blah, blah, blah. Putin's not a national socialist. Xi Jinping is not a national socialist. They're not national. And it's like, well,
Xi Jinping is objectively.
Well, but here's the thing. Like, my point is with the 80s and the 90s is that, it really doesn't matter. I mean, on some level it does matter, but on some level it doesn't matter. Great power competition is good for white people living under this system. When they don't have it, we all suffer. We all suffer more. They are free to just, and this has been an ongoing theme of this show, they are free to just make war on the white race. If this stuff is happening, if the DEI is being canceled, and we'll go through, because you started out this whole segment by saying what executive orders are going to stick. If all this is going to stick, and it's all good for white people,
no, it's not. It's not good for white
ultimately, people. It's not good at all. But compared to what we've had, it seems like it's less overtly anti-white.